Okay, perfect. We are officially live. I'm
We
gonna
are.
just refresh my phone because we all know the lag that happens. There we go. Beautiful. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Welcome to episode 9 of Teach Me in 20. And I'm so excited. Oh, just making Zoom. I'm here. We're everywhere. I'm so excited for episode 9. Susan is going to be teaching us the preconception journey from mind, body, and spirit. Now, I've known Susan for, oh gosh, probably we met like online about a year ago, probably like in the same
Yeah,
circle.
in the past several months. That's right. For the past, yeah, since the beginning of the year, I think probably.
Through like a lot connected through quarantine. And I'm just so excited for her to teach you. Also, when you guys get here, say hello, let us know you're here. If you have any questions, whether you're watching live or in the replay, just drop them in the comments. We will try to get to all the questions. And if we don't, I'm sure Susan can come back later and respond to anything. And if you watch the replay, just let us know, #replay. And so, Susan, I'm so excited. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about you and then a little bit more about what it is you'll be teaching us today?
All right. Thank you so much, Milana, for this opportunity. Hi, everyone that comes on or that is here. So I am a childbirth educator, so a prenatal educator, certified in childbirth education, certified lactation educator, certified birth doula, postpartum doula, have my bachelor's degree in psychology. I think I put all that stuff in there. And I am a conscious conception coach. And part of the reason why I've come to this place is just through my own journey of working with families for 20 years, seeing the way that people are in this journey of going through parenthood and coming up right onto the labor and how they feel when they're going into this and all of the questions that come up around specific fears or concerns. And so I started to realize that I felt like people need to be preparing sooner. And so this is just an accumulation of, knowledge, intuition, perception over time that I've come to. So
That's incredible.
that's a little bit. Yeah.
Looking forward to learning more from you. And Sarah is here with us live. Hello, Sarah. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Wonderful, wonderful. So to dig in, the conscious conception journey from body, mind, and spirit is also the same. To bring in a new life, really, it starts the same way or very similarly to trying to conceive of any creative expression, that you want to put out into the world. And so I do both. And I definitely have a lot of background with the conscious conception and childbirth and all of that. So, or that's where some of my focus really wants to go in coaching people. So that journey entails looking inward first, where we get to clarify and to get clear on our desires for our life, what makes us come alive, how we can set ourselves up in a way that we really integrate this process, right? We bring ourselves to the table, and how sometimes we are very much going along in our lives where we're not really thinking about how do we feel, right? We are a lot in our heads because we're constantly doing, right? Lots of stuff. And so it takes some effort and time to build that muscle of really stopping and taking a deep breath and figuring out, what is it that I need right now? What do I really want, right? And to start to get in touch. And these are things I started to talk to my childbirth classes about, like, all the ways that they can start to get in touch with their senses. Because when you're going through labor, it's also important to get in touch with sensation, right? And this is where we all came from in the womb. We came from multisensory. We need to continue that path, right? And that involves a lot of things. So we come into more energy, clarity, purpose, and meaning, when we are coming from that place so that we can move forward more mindfully. So when we look at that, I wrote a bunch of notes. I'm just going to go ahead and look at them so I can make sure that I touch on all the points that I want to. So touching on our belief systems around pregnancy, childbirth, like what did your parents, what did you observe about your parents when you were coming in? What about their parents and maybe some of your generational ancestry, all of that? What were the things that happened? Because things change over time, but there are things that we can pick up and continue to believe. And so if birth is something to fear, or pregnancy just means, oh my God, my body's going to change, and how do I, not deal with all the feelings around my belly growing and all these things, but we're not really integrating that's, it's an amazing, amazing thing that your body is doing.
Yeah.
And how do we love our bodies throughout the whole journey, no matter what, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense, right?
Okay. So I'm a fitness professional, right? We use
Yeah.
that now. And I remember doing my certification for pre-postnatal to be able to work with pregnant women who are, wanting to get pregnant or just gave birth, right? And I remember the teacher or the instructor saying the labor and delivery is the Olympics of a woman's life, right? Like that is
right.
greatest sort of achievement, because it takes so much for the body to, come together and put all that together and do that. And so from my perspective, we talk about really creating, like strengthening all the parts of the body and mind and spirit too, that can do all that. And so I love the way you talk about it. So
Yay, that is perfect. And that's all a huge part, because we go physiological is like huge. That means certain nutrients are really important to put in the body to set your gut bacteria in a good place, so that you're also feeding the bacteria of your baby's gut in a really positive way. So things like folic acid and omega-3s, those things can be very, very helpful, along with some other types of nutrients and things that are helpful to, and of course, eating a certain diet, right, with all of those nutrients in it are the best things. So we look at the physiological, we look at what makes you feel in pleasure when you are, moving your body, what are the things that you enjoy doing? So starting to look at, how do I want to incorporate these things? So one of the ways to get in touch with the journey and to look at your belief systems is definitely doing some journaling, right? So we start to write down. I think journaling is a great way. One of the ways that I found too that helps me is to record, like I'll just talk to myself or record myself talking about a certain part of my life or whatever. And I just noticed that I all of a sudden will get an aha moment, right? And it can help me to move forward, because I'm like looking at it from a different perspective, right? So I'm getting aware. So we become aware, we become more conscious, right? Makes sense. And I was thinking about how we're coming into a generation where, the kids that are being born, my daughter's generation in her 20s, and whatever, there's a lot more information out here right now, right, in the world. It's a lot different than it was when I was, in my 20s. And I think that it's really fantastic that we have all this information. And I do think that younger people are learning more quickly, but they're also needing to slow down a little, because it's hard, right? We have to stop. So how do we learn to do that, right? And I think about my daughter, and she started at a university right out of high school for 2 years, and it was very competitive. She just, she hadn't really taken time to know herself. And although she did well, she was so overwhelmed. She came back home, and that was like 10 hours away. She came back home and went to school, junior college, worked, and got really to know herself and to figure out what she really wants. And I was like, at first a little like disappointed. I thought, oh, it'd be great if she could have continued and got through, but it's all working out. Now she's back and it's been a few years and it's wonderful. It's important, right? So getting very conscious and connected to ourselves and learning who we are and what we love and enjoy, and actually learning to love ourselves, right? Really, really, really connected. Because how do we, yeah,
Something we can't learn in school.
that's
Not really.
right. That's right. Right. And I know you've been to school and you know the pressures, and it can be a lot of pressure. And so, but listening to yourself, trusting yourself from a young age. Wow, what a gift, right? You don't have to be, 40, 50, 60. You can start to plant those seeds and get better and better and better with all of it. So we address all these things, we start to get clear, we look at our stories and we get perceptions and we can rewrite it. Because simply we see it from a different angle. Like, oh, now I have more compassion for my parents. Now I have more compassion for myself in how I was kind of seeing these things, right? And then we move into more. So there's all kinds of ways to ignite the senses. We know, dancing is really fantastic. Being able to, have pleasurable things in our environment that make us feel good, pictures on the wall, maybe the walls are painted a certain color that you love, that you take the time to fix your environment to make it what you want it to be. And it's always a work in progress, but when you get going, it's really, really great, right? And every other sense that we have, we can start to play around. And I don't, one of the things I want to talk about is hormones. So our hormones are changing, right, as we go through pregnancy. And one of the things preconception also is to get in touch with our sexuality if we aren't in touch with it, right? And to really sink into, we get to have pleasure, like make it a priority to have orgasms regularly, right? And to feel really good about that, because those are hormones that, that's going to help, because you have a lot of oxytocin when you are having sex, and also when you are birthing, you have all the same hormones, right? And there are women that say they have an orgasmic experience. Some women have had that when they've given birth, and you think, how the heck, can they do that? And yet we know it's possible, because women have, and in some countries, it's just second nature to birth, right? We birth and we just do it normally, right? And so we start to practice and really drop in more and more to that joy. Why not through the whole pregnancy? We have to start, and really incorporate that. That's going to really help everything. So sex.
So you heard it here, folks, seriously, real talk. We're talking about that because I think that it's such a sensitive, I think anything about women is such a sensitive topic in general. But, bringing in all of these things, like, it's really important to talk about, because I just think we're afraid to talk about sex and orgasms entirely too much. And it's part of our nature. That's part of being a woman. It's part of the beauty of being a woman, and also being pregnant. So
right. It is part of the beauty. And you're absolutely right. It's not been an easy subject all the time for me over my life, because I wasn't prepared. Like, people didn't talk to, my parents didn't really talk to me about it a lot. There were a lot of things I learned along the way that probably weren't, so great. I didn't have that orientation. And now I do. And I think that our generations coming up can, they can see it as, this is normal, this is beautiful, this is important, right? It gets us in touch with our joy at a deep level.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And connected to all the other things. So it's all connected, that mind-body connection, right? It's all of it, and being very open to what we can learn from all of that, right? So I have no idea where we are on time. I just want to check in with you.
15 minutes. We're so good.
Good. Oh, good. So I'm going to just, maybe I'll dig into a little bit more detail. Um, so yeah, what we're doing is we're operating at a much higher vibration when we can come from a place of integrating ourselves, like fully, like who am I? What do I love? Right? And putting ourselves first, because how do you bring a new life in with joy and be able to continue that connection you have with yourself and your partner, whoever's involved, and feel really like I can see this person, this new life, and I'm tuning in and I'm like, yeah, I get it, because I feel good. I feel like I need to make space for me too, right? And the other thing to make sure parents know, and I talk about it a lot more lately, like after you give birth, until you feel like, if you're not feeling very sexual, the foreplay is making time to connect with each other, have a little picnic on the living room floor while your baby's sleeping, watch some Netflix, do something that feels really connecting that you've always done or that you want to implement, because that's going to help when you get to that place. And it's going to help to also feel like you're normalizing things a little bit, because it's a huge change. But how can we, like I said, make it so it doesn't feel overwhelming that we are moving into this process, right?
I love that you're talking about that, because I think, and so I'm not a mom, so like preface everything I say with that. Like, I'm not a mom. I don't know. I was a stepmom for a little while, but they were grown kids. They were 8 and 5. So like
Yeah.
nothing like that. But I just know from hearing from people how hard it is to feel like things are normal, how hard it feels like to take care of yourself when you have this little being that needs your attention, and then you have a partner sometimes, right, that also needs your attention. And how do you navigate that space? And I love that you talked about like bringing some normalcy into the situation. Like, obviously it's a new situation, it can't be exactly how it was, but
Right.
bring some of that in. So maybe you can't go out for a picnic, but let the baby's gonna nap, right, and sit on
Right.
the floor.
Exactly. Right. And these are things, over time people have said, oh, this is what I wanted, this what I thought I would try. I'll ask people, what can you do? How can you have a date night? And for a long time it was like, we could have a date night? Like, oh, I thought it's all about the baby now. If it's all about the baby, then how are you going to really show up in joy and feel good, right? It's always going to be like, oh, I have to do this, right? What about I get to be in this journey in a really amazing time and get to enjoy every moment, right? And it's not always going to be like feel like that, and it's going to be easier because you have taken the time to get to know yourself and what you love and make yourself a priority too, because leaving yourself out of the equation and you and your partner is is not going to help you to really get to know this new life in a different way. And you're not always going to be thinking, oh, I wish they would sleep through the night. I wish this. There's development, right? Babies have development needs, and they call the shots a lot in the beginning. And at the same time, we can integrate with that knowing. So once if we know this, then we can start to plan for it and figure out how do we integrate, right, with this new experience and allow space for that too. So I also feel like there's so much practical stuff that you need to know before you go to conceive, like all of the decisions that you want to make, like who do I want to work with prenatally? Do I want to work with a midwife at home? Do I want to work with a traditional OBGYN, and go in for visits? How do I see myself doing this? And how do I want to feel in these interactions? Do I want to feel like, oh, I can ask questions of this provider and I feel like they answer all of my questions and they really take time to know me, right? It's an interesting thing that we don't have more of that specialness in the journey with a traditional doctor. And it's because they are overworked. And so often it's like a 15-20 minute visit, right? When it's like this huge deal every single time. And you might see them every 2 months. You might see them, you know, once every 3 months. I don't know. It's really like spread out in the beginning. Home birth midwives work differently. They are going to want to spend time with you, usually at least a half an hour to an hour of time every time you go to see them and work with them, or they come to your home, and you get to be in that sort of energy of, oh, we're taking our time to know you, right? And to really get to know you. And so doing the exams, you know, we do exams and things like that at every juncture. But the main thing is like, how do I want to birth? Who do I want to be working with prenatally? What are the questions that I need to talk to about to my partner or other people that are involved with this journey, you know, in terms of getting ready and preparing for it. Do I want to birth in a hospital? Do I want to birth at home, right? Similar to what I was just saying. And so creating a vision, you know, taking time to maybe do some artwork or journal your vision about what you see. And
hi, Jillian. Jillian's watching. She
hi,
said,
Jillian.
Jillian says, sorry, I had 2 home births and simultaneously went to appointments at Kaiser. 2 totally opposite experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sarah says, I love this. I can't get pregnant, but I think making our spaces comfortable and reflective of who we are is great. And of course, enjoying ourselves. And it does make me more productive when my space is in order. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that we go to bat for ourselves in that way, that we actually take the time to integrate that divine feminine energy. I think that women hold a very important place in this journey. Obviously, a woman's body brings new life in. And it's like there's a power center here. We can filter it out into like our partners that we're with and all of what we do and how we affect our world and our environment as we're bringing new life in. It's huge to drop into self-care in a big way, right? This is part of our joy. This is our birthright, you know, this deep sense of joy. And we all came in with that, and then the world got a hold of us and we started to think, oh, we need to go this way or that way, and we didn't stop to look, right? How much is it going to cost in the first year of life, right? That's a very practical thing to know. Like, how many diapers am I going to go through in the first few weeks, right? And like 80 to 90 of them, it's a lot. And then how do I want to do diapers? Do I want to, you know, go for the single use regular, or am I thinking environmentally? Like, what are the different options I have with every single thing, right? And starting to look at that beforehand so that you can plan ahead. I mean, some of that is, you know, it's very simple, but it's important, right? So we want to start to look at how do we feel in integrity with what we're doing and moving forward. You know, what do we want to create? What's our bigger picture? You know, of how we want to influence.
Yeah, and I just appreciate these questions too, because so again, I'm not a mom, and I'm not someone soon, right? But at the same time, just thinking ahead, like I literally would not know what questions to ask. I'd be like, and that's
right.
why I'm not a mom. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how to plan. How much money do I need? Do I make it now? Good timing, like of the questions. So
yeah, and I mean, it can all come together. Obviously, many people that may be seeing this have thought, I've given birth and it worked out. And at the same time, you know, I think we can all agree that there are aspects that we wish we had known, you know, that we would have been able to plan a little bit better and easier and integrated more into that experience, because it's a hugely transforming experience. But how do we embrace it in a really great way right from the get-go, right? Really start to embrace it. So, and also like what changes, how is my body going to change as I go through the pregnancy? you know, and how am I gonna work? How do I feel about the work I'm doing? Do I feel like stressed out when I'm doing it? How can we make this work so that I go through this pregnancy with more ease and that I feel good when in my daily life, right? How do hormones affect us? You know, the first trimester, there's a lot of exhaustion as the hormones are developing, and people often get nausea. And so again, looking at diet, looking at, you know, our habits and getting more rest because that's what our body requires, right?
Totally.
So thinking about all those questions, right? And thinking, well, do I really have a choice? I mean, I have to work, but maybe you can do something different if your job is very stressful, because it's important not to have all that stress when you are building a life, right? And certainly we all deserve to feel more ease in that arena as well.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's so much. And so who stays home, right? Does somebody stay home with the baby for however long? How do you feel about that? You know, do you want to be able, how long do you want to nurse for? You know, and
so I also have just a better understanding, and as we slowly start to wrap up, and then also I see there's a couple people on, so if you're here, let us know. If you caught this in the replay, also let us know, and let us know if you have any questions. But my question is, so all of these questions that you're posing here now, these are the questions that you help women answer essentially as they're working with you, as they go through this journey with you. So
propose those questions, yeah, so that they can think about it and talk about it if they're with somebody else. And in any kind of journey, it could be, you know, this all has a potential to open up more fertility for women who may have some issues with fertility, just because we know there's a mind-body connection, and how we're embracing this journey and, you know, getting into our bodies more, it can really help to open up channels, right? Certainly there are medical reasons some people cannot, so I can't say that that's for sure going to happen. But I also know when people are going through adoption, you know, it's like there's so much to learn in that. It's the same. Or if you have a surrogate, if you're a gay couple, right? It's all the same, really. We need to start to integrate this process and how it's unique for each, you know, situation. Yeah.
So, and maybe you said this in the beginning, but I just want to ask again, is there do you only work with women and specifically birth, or do you work within all of those categories, like if it's a surrogate or adoption or a gay couple, or, you know?
I can work with all, you know, situations. I really feel like there's a need, you know, to help people in any situation who, if they're considering having a child. And who knows, you might figure out that you really don't want to have a child when you start to look at some of the questions and your desires, for sure, and starting out. So getting clarity is really important, right?
I love that word too. Like that was the simple is like, this is for clarity. This is to set you up with, because clarity helps that uncertainty, right? There is so much uncertainty, and there still will be, despite how many of these questions you answer for yourself and your partner. And if we can give ourselves as much certainty and clarity as possible, then I think it really does allow us to have less stress and more joy, more pleasure, lean into all of that because we're feeling clear.
That's right. Lean into all of that. Wow. It's so amazing. And let go of the other stuff that we don't really want to carry into this experience, right? And we can learn to get rid of it if it pops in. You know, we know how we can handle it better because we're getting to know ourselves. Yeah.
Gosh, so much goodness, Susan, so much.
Yay. You know, it's in my heart. I love this. I think it's important. I think we're moving this way in the world, like to where people are getting much more aware and moving more mindfully, because we have to. It's really important in so many ways, right?
And I think we can all totally tell that this is definitely something you're so passionate about, something so coming from deep within.
Right.
So if I may ask, how can people get in touch with you? Do you have a website? Do you have Facebook group. Maybe you can drop that in the comments for us.
Definitely, I will do it. Yes. And SusanCortez.com is one way to just get right to my website. So it's easy.
Let's
And
drop.
I'll drop it in, and then also my group. And yeah, happy to do that. And I have a course coming up, but it's really more geared towards creating anything. But we start with that creative process of getting to know ourselves, right? And so, yeah. All right. Yay.
Can I just ask, what is this? What is the course name?
The course is called Deepening into Your Creative Juices.
Ooh.
It's only 5 weeks, but it is going to have richness in it, and we're going to create something by the end of the course.
That sounds
And
incredible.
don't let that intimidate you. It's just, creating something. Like maybe it's a step forward towards something you've wanted, or maybe it is an art piece or something you've written, what have you. Yeah.
That's incredible. Oh, thank you, Susan, so much for being on here today. I'm so grateful that you were here sharing all of this with us and coming on my little show, Teach Me in 20. Thank
It
you.
says, lit me up. I love it. This has been really fun and invigorating for me. And I hope everyone gets something out of it, whoever's resonating with it. And yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a great, wonderful Thursday, everybody. Bye.
Everybody, bye.